Afternoon. You're on mute. Oh, there you go. What is the agenda for today's seance?
I don't know. I thought about it off and on. I am not really sure. We have the memorandum of understanding, I guess, to discuss as a group, but Ed's still not here. Then the recommendations, key findings that no one made any comments on yet. And God, I just totally blanked out on his name. Mark sent me some new comments on a document that I have not had time to look at.
What's the document that he sent the comments on?
The land use compilation document that we're working on.
When you say the memorandum of understanding, you mean the legal subcommittee's memo on the meaning of the MOU that the county and Republic signed?
I guess that and the memorandum itself. We were gonna just. I'm not really sure what we're doing with that. I mean, it's a memorandum between the county and Republic, and I wasn't sure if our committee members wanted to comment on it in some way. I don't know.
Yes, absolutely. So it sounds like, hey, Jeff.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Afternoon. So it sounds like the issue is not necessarily in this order. Are the introductory language that has been going back and forth between the legal and the CUP subcommittee. There's a legal memo in, shockingly, the legal section of the report that talks about the MOU between the county and Republic. The third is the findings and recommendations. So let's talk about them in that order. And if there's something else, we'll ask. And so Mark Yeager's comments are on the full report, are they?
Yeah, I thought he was going to comment on the key findings and recommendations, but he ended up putting some comments into the land use, into the CUP committee document.
As opposed
instead
to
of the work group
report
summary
section.
Yeah, let's call it the work group report and the subcommittee report.
Yeah, exactly. That's fine.
Yeah, he did not comment on the work group report. He ended up putting some comments in the subcommittee report. And I have not looked at them. I guess we can bring them up and look at them.
And did you receive comments on the findings and recs from anyone else?
Nope.
Okay. Have either of you been Zoom bombed before Thursday night?
No.
No.
Yeah, that was my first as well. I think there should be a special place in hell for people that do that. They should go to a separate room in hell with a TV in front of them, hear headphones on, and they're listen to countless Lawrence Welk reruns. A wonderful, a one and a two and a three.
That might be too severe a punishment, Sam, but
Yeah, I remember having to watch that every Saturday or Sunday night with my parents. It was just required watching in the house.
my folks did too.
Yeah,
How to sap music and dancing of all their life.
yeah. Inga, what is the status of the RSVPs to this meeting?
Question. I don't know that I ever get any RS. No, I know I don't get any RSVPs unless they can't make it.
Well, is there a thing where you can put, accept, tentative, decline, those things?
Yeah, but unless you use your calendar like we normally do, they don't do that.
Okay.
They just.
So I got a kind of a cryptic message from Mark Yeager. It looks like you got it too. He says for land use subcommittee meeting scheduled for today does not work. Oh, meeting link on web page for the land use subcommittee meeting does not work. Well, it worked for me. Says meeting is scheduled for January 31st.
Today's not the 31st, so he's probably using the wrong link. You used it, you said?
I used the link that you sent and got in.
Ah, no, maybe I put the wrong link up on the website. But I emailed it to him, so he got that.
Well, did he send you just an email? Jeff, who did that email you just referred to go to?
It went to you and Inga and the rest of the committee, it looks like.
Okay, Inga, can you look at that and respond with the right link to everyone?
It's in the email that I sent him originally.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying he just sent us an email, right?
I know, yeah, I'll get it to him.
Hit reply all in case anyone else is having the same problem. Jeff, while I have you captive, what's the word from Holly on getting back Republic's comments on the CUP subcommittee's work, this work?
Well, she's got them right now. Ian and I finished up all of our comments over the weekend and sent it to Holly. So I'm expecting to get the high signed today or tomorrow, and after which we'll send them to you.
Okay. Because I need to, as you know, plug and play those into the draft that goes to Planning Commission /DSAC.
Yeah, I tried to make that easy to do. I'm going to, I put all of our comments into the document, and I will send you that final document plus a red line so you can see all of the changes that we made or comments that we made.
Okay.
So hopefully that'll make it easier to incorporate them.
All right. Thank you. That document is becoming a beast. The whole work group report is just becoming a beast. Inga did a good job over the weekend or Friday, trying to get a consistent format for all the sections.
Thank you so much, Inga, for winnowing it down the week before. I mean, when I started working on it, it was like, oh, but we've already gone through this section. So I was deeply appreciative of all the work you put in on that.
The only thing that irritated me about her is I wanted to do wingdings as the font for the full report, but she did not let me.
Actually, wingdings would have been appropriate.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's my inside voice coming out.
Do you see that the State Department changed its official font from Times New Roman to Calibri or something last week, and it was all over the papers?
Oh my goodness.
This is an issue of near biblical proportions. That's where I got my wingdings comment from. you know, and I was gonna write a letter to the editor suggesting that, you know, what about Wingdings? My actual favorite though would be Comic Sans. But no one seems to like that but me. Hey,
Well,
Catherine.
I don't know how our folks came up with using Palantino linotype because I really dislike it. It's really hard to read.
Yeah, I just got that directly from Mara early on.
Yeah, we
Or is
use
it Mo-
Calibri in the office, so
is it Mora or Mara?
Mara.
Mara, like
Yeah.
hopefully Mark will join us soon.
So Linda went through the final the work group report and put it in our county format, colors and everything. So we have all that. We have a new front page, which I can share with you.
Look at that. Wow.
So that's the new page. And then everything is in our color coordinated blues and yellows, I guess. But I could probably take draft off of everything now.
Well, it's still a draft.
Yeah. Oh, so you might be able to help me with this, Sam. I got an email from not still on the first page. From Johnavie, and she sent me the 117 final version of Charge E Community Outreach. Louisa edited January 16 _ JV edits with a bunch of strike through underline stuff. And what am I supposed to do with that? I don't know.
You don't have to do it. You don't have to do anything with it. I took her and Corey's comments, rolled them up, and sent them back to Louisa and Mary, who are the ones doing that particular group report. And a new report was issued, new version was issued over the weekend. So
Okay,
that's coming back
sorry.
as well.
I will put this away then.
Well, Catherine, do you happen to have Mark's cell phone handy to call him? He tried to get in. But apparently the link was broken or is using the link for the wrong date. And we tried to reach out to him.
So he'd sent me a message, just an email message saying that he couldn't get the link to work, and I could not either. So it was the new one that Inga sent. I don't know if we've had invites and different links and stuff come back and forth. So she sent the new one. So thank you, Inga, because that's how I got here. But I sent him a message, also let him know that was there.
Good.
So
Thanks.
and I think his email to you was just a few minutes before that, Inga. So I'm hoping that maybe I don't know, maybe he's having other issues, but hoping that issues getting connected, let's clarify.
Right.
Hoping that he got that message also.
So I'm gonna, oh, there he is. Hey, Mark, can you hear us okay?
Yes,
Greetings.
greetings. Sorry about the coming a little bit late after
Yeah, it happens. Apparently.
traveling to the other planet or wherever. I was on January 31st.
Ah,
Right. I think that's where I
Okay.
went first too.
okay. Well, that's good. I mean, you're future travelers, so that's fine. You can tell
That's
us
right.
how all this ends. It would be much more convenient just to write it out now. Here's what happened 5 years later.
Right.
Boom.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah. So here is the agenda du jour subject to your additions and subtractions. One is comments on the so-called introductory language that's been bouncing back and forth between the two subcommittees. Second are the legal subcommittee's memo on the county republic memorandum of understanding. And the third is the findings and recommendations in the body of the work group report. And then fourth is any other things in the report itself. Does anyone have an agenda item that would not fit into one of those four buckets?
I don't have any agenda items, but I haven't looked, I'm not sure what memo you're talking about. I know there was some memo a couple weeks ago about the MOU. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, the memo about the memo of understanding.
About the MOU, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I haven't looked at that I mean, I glanced at it at some point, but so I wouldn't necessarily be prepared to speak about it, but we can, whatever you want to do.
Well, let's start with that, given that's, Catherine, did you have a chance to look at it or not?
So, okay, just making sure I'm off mute. Coming into this last week's kind of review of the document that we presented and what we were going through on Thursday, I haven't spent any time in it recently. I did
No
do
problem.
a kind of a once over glance at it when it first came out to this group. I didn't really know where our agenda was aiming at today. So I was kind of reviewing some of the stuff from Thursday more than the MOU specifically.
No problem.
Yeah, so I'm okay, whichever direction we wish to choose. If it's that one, I'm probably least prepared in that space compared to some of the others, but it's not that we can't begin that conversation either.
All right. Well, here's what I'm going to suggest is that Inga, for the next meeting, you actually send out an agenda in advance and then include one, which is CUP subcommittee's comments on legal subcommittees memorandum on the county republic MOU. And that's that document. And you can take a look at that and then see, and then Ed will be back by then for that next meeting.
Sam, can you clarify to your understanding? So our next meeting is scheduled for a week, the 30th or the 31st?
31st.
31st, so
Thanks.
Tuesday.
Right.
Are we, is Ed, I don't recall, I know he's coming back right in that time frame. Are we expecting Ed to join us in that meeting or not?
Yes.
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 Okay.
So we moved it from Monday to
That's correct.
Tuesday so we
Okay.
could get back in time.
We
That's
need to
right.
change the time of that meeting,
Oh,
so we can do it now or
Let's just-
at the end of
let's
the.
let's just do it now Inga, and get it done.
So Ed will have 30 minutes to review from the time he lands that document and all others, and we'll expect him to be fully caught up on speed when he arrives back, right?
I think that's fair.
Exactly.
I think
I think
that's fair.
I think, and I want to use your words, Catherine, literally, from the moment he lands, not taxis
right.
to the terminal, not picks up his baggage.
From the
claim or
moment he
drives home.
lands.
Moment he lands.
Yeah.
So what
What's the
time?
suggestion on the time?
Yeah. What time is it now?
It's now at 3:30, which I can't think of the term, but the legal subcommittee is at the same time. So we can do it. I have a planners meeting 8:30 to 9:30, and I'm free after that.
So I only have a window from 6 to What time is our meeting on the 31st, Inga? It starts at 7, doesn't it?
No, that's the planning commission meeting.
Right, that's what I'm
That-
talking about.
That's your other meeting.
That's my other meeting. So I only have that window of an hour from, if we get to, I have a 5 to 6. And then I have the planning commission meeting that night as well. So wherever we
And I-
leave in this time frame,
I have a meeting from 1 to 3:30 on that day.
so 3:30 to 5.
But
Well, I think
we-
that's when the legal.
that's when
committee's
we
meeting.
have it now and we can't because it's at the same time as the legal subcommittee.
So is it possible that there's some maneuverability with that committee?
That's their normal meeting time. We changed our meeting time, but
Sure.
that is their normal meeting time. I don't know if they're flexible or not.
Do we have the option to go to the next day, which is the 1st? Which of course, I mean, there's nothing we're gonna do that's gonna get to the planning commission an hour later or 2, I wouldn't think.
My first is entirely clear, so
But we could move it to the second, which is Groundhog Day. That would be appropriate.
Nice.
God, sit yourself down, Mark.
The first is fine.
The first
is
works
fine
for
for
me.
me.
Yeah, it works
Yeah.
for me too. Same
So the
time.
first,
okay, I'll move at 3:30 on the first.
so the same 3:30 to 5
Mm-hmm.
and no longer, not at all on the 30th under consideration, correct?
Correct. Moving it right now. Sending it out.
This is number 9 still, correct? No, this will be
Yes.
number, this meeting on the 1st is number 9 or tonight's is number 9?
Today's is number 8.
Okay.
No, sorry. 'cause
It's number 9.
We met,
Here's
yeah,
9. Okay,
yeah. Today's is number 9.
we'll get it.
All
And
right. Go ahead. Who was up? Who was talking?
I just said I've just added it, so it's
Oh.
I've got it for the first.
Okay, thank you. All right,
So,
the next item, go ahead, Catherine.
I just, that comment, we're now into double digits, so I think it's worthy of 2 boxes of chocolate. I'm just letting you know. Okay, we're good.
Yes,
Nice.
yes, Condit. You have to go back to Switzerland or wherever the hell you got that.
Right.
Well, at this point in the meetings, I think we ought to switch to scotch myself.
Yeah.
That might,
Yeah.
well, okay then,
I'm
right?
fine with that too.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
All right, the second topic that may suffer the same fate as the first topic is I sent out an email, God knows when last week, basically sharing Jenny Lucker's proposed version of the introductory language. Basically, we've gotten some yeses, we got no-nos, some yeses, and then we got Liz Irish suggested even more layperson language to that paragraph. And I don't know if she's had a chance to do that yet. So Catherine, Mark, and I obviously know Ed's not here. Did you have time to consider this language and opine? Or do I need to set up another joint subcommittee meeting? And when those come into double digits, then I'm going to start getting all Italian on you.
Mark, I'll let you comment first if you have one. I don't want to jump. I don't want to
All
jump.
right, yeah,
out of the line each time.
so what I can say, I might be muted here. Oh, no, okay. So what I did was, because I completely have lost track of all the versions of everything. There's been so many versions of this thing. I am now reviewing, so someone will have to guide me. I'm looking at draft 2 of the Talks Trash work group report. And the introduction is included here. And there are a bunch of different colors. So I don't know exactly what this represents, but clearly Ginny has put in some new paragraphs here. But I have to say that it's a little unclear to me what is actually being proposed here, because everything is here, I think. I think all the different versions of things are here.
Well, let me
What-
walk you through it real quickly. So Inga,
Okay.
can you go, are you in our work group report, the version 2?
Yes.
Is this what it is? All right, so
I-
Mark, so you could see this paragraph that begins conditions of approval must, and then goes to the next page. The bubble on the side says proposed alternative language for above paragraphs. And I
What-
think
What happens here above this?
we can,
Let's go up here, because I'm looking at this paragraph that begins for context. Is this proposed to be in or out?
in with edits.
Okay,
Oh, wait a minute. I'm now proposing merging the contacts paragraph with the compatibility paragraph. So to see if, did she do that? Let's scroll down. Well, I without it written out, I don't have the visual acuity to be able to tell you what she did. I believe she is intending to take those top 3 paragraphs and replace them with the one that begins conditions of approval must be related. So she would take out the paragraph implementation of land use decisions and implementation of land use decisions, which are the competing modes where we left off. And she's suggesting taking out for context. So it is my understanding that her proposal is to use, if you will, the 4th paragraph, conditions of approval must be related.
well, I have to say that if, so I was sort of leaning toward trying to find a way to accept the paragraph at the top of this page.
Mhm.
But if what you're saying is she wants to get rid of the top 3 paragraphs and just replace it with this paragraph that begins conditions of approval, this goes off into, I'm sort of with Liz on this. This goes off into land use nerdity, and I think it's just we talked about this when we had I was the only member of the CUP committee talking to the legal committee. Well, Inga was there as well, but I keep trying to come back to this concept of who the audience is and how accessible this information is in terms of their ability to understand what the whole idea is behind land use planning. And I know that everyone's all a bit of Twitter about using the word compatibility, but in Ginny's paragraph at the top of the page, it seems to be more on point than what is now being, if what's being proposed now is get rid of those top 3 paragraphs and just submit this 4th paragraph, then I'm not on board with that, because this just is too obtuse in my view.
All right, so can you go to the top, Inga, please? I want to see that first paragraph to make sure. I stop right there.
And Sam, can I just comment
Please.
on this particular, we spent an unusually large amount of time on this particular document. I've got a couple just thoughts, not necessarily arguments, in that I'm hoping that, so our subcommittee was tasked with this work. I'm hoping that we can convey what our perspectives were. I feel like I'm not sure that that's happening yet. I think we can get there, but in my observation on Thursday, in working with our work group, which has been on board with this process since September, so they have an inordinate amount of exposure already to this topic, I felt that for what I was trying to share for our subcommittee work, that there were a lot of questions, a lot of not really sure where we were going, even contextually speaking. And so this particular statement becomes very important to a even less familiar or less informed or initiated into land use and even this topic kind of audience. So I do think that this particular statement is essential. Because if we can't even get our work group even sort of, I just felt like I had a lot of unsured looks or uncertain looks in the room, and just based on the nature of the questions. So I also will say this, it's important to recognize that while I'm sure that Mark and I can get to some conclusion in this space on how this group would like to represent, it too feels very important that we have Ed's perspective on this document before we really check the box and say, yeah, we're all good with it, because he has just been key in this work. So I also am aware of the timelines we're looking at, but I would not want to remove him from this final review process on this document as well.
So let me tell you the things I think we all agree with and have in common. One, this is a key bit of information. Two, Ed should be involved next, whatever we just decided, Wednesday, in that conversation. The next piece is, I think it has to serve two purposes. One, it has to be legally accurate, and secondly, user friendly. But I think the back and forth using the word compatibility issue, it has become the focal point for the tension between legal correctness and usability, or readability, maybe is a better word, the readability of that. And, as I've stated 1,000 million times, I'm not an expert in this particular area. And, but I do think, I don't think it would serve the board, the planning commission, SWAC, the general overall public, to have two different versions of this document where there's a legal disagreement. And so I am really pushing for, which obviously you guys can push back against, a consensus on this key piece of information, because I think people need to know. And so the question is, I guess I am suggesting, so forget for the moment that I suggested, that Jenny is suggesting, that you axe those first three paragraphs and just focus on.
Sam, I don't think that's what Jenny is suggesting. I think Jenny is suggesting this modified first paragraph and axing the next two, and then adding her last paragraph. That's what I think. I could be misreading her comment, but I think that's what she intends.
So that's why I raised my hand just now as well, because when I read her comment and I looked at the document, for some reason, and I can't really tell because I pulled up my actual document, I don't know who put this language in that's in the underline, the pink underline. I don't know if that's Ginny's language or someone else's.
Yeah, check to see, but
yeah, but so I read it the same way that Jeff does, that this paragraph at the top of the page is one that Ginny is proposing, but I don't know that for sure.
well, so I'm just trying to translate the same thing you're reading here, merging the context with the compatibility paragraphs that are causing so much. So which one are the compatible? Because I can see what you're
the
saying.
next two. The next
two are implementation paragraphs, right?
No, the objection is in the second paragraph, where
Right.
the second line says complies with the development code and the resultant land use activity, comma, assuming compliance with the conditions of approval, should be a comma there, is compatible with adjacent land uses. That was the hot button phrase that
Right.
everyone was excited about.
So
And
if we took out the two middle ones, implementation of, and just did this first one, and then Inga, if you can scroll down, and then go right into conditions of approval must be necessary, does that tighten it up and then give us a base from which to edit?
For me, which I've been the one who's been speaking most vocally about this, it helps. But not knowing exactly what was being proposed here, I'd like to have the opportunity to cogitate on, if that's what is actually being proposed. That would be helpful for me to understand and have clarity about what it is that Ginny is proposing to be done.
Well, I think Jeff's hint and your underscoring, it makes sense. So her, the comments confuse me.
What I don't understand is what the references are going to, the 53 and 54. I don't know what those are tied to. So in her first paragraph, parenthetical to BCC 53.110, she references 53 and 54. Oh, it's down here.
Yeah, well, that's the Benton County Code.
I know, but I didn't know what it was. I just printed this out today because I just was losing control over trying to look at so many different versions of this thing.
So
I feel
Sam,
your pain, Mark.
Huh?
I feel your pain on that.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Jeff.
Pretty much, Jeff, I'm just going to ask for a full copy of all the pages you have so I can stop looking at 15 different documents or 50, and then I can just earmark them all and post-it note them. Sam, might I propose this? So Mark and I are looking at just having a get together before Ed gets back to kind of review some of the things that we're looking at in the bigger document, the key findings in particular, and kind of polish that a little bit. I would propose, and that's before we get to next week's meeting. We've already put we've got a couple options on the calendar. We don't have that scheduled yet. I would propose that let's give that enough oxygen in the room, if you will, to move forward with that process and get to some of that polishing. And then let's go under the assumptions, unless we get otherwise informed of what you are talking about for this introductory statement, and see if we can't get that across the finish line. So come back with a proposed, here's what we're actually looking at. Yes, we support all of this, or we want to make an adjustment here or recommend one for consideration. And then perhaps we can get it across the finish line from there. Is that, again, recognizing the timeline pressures that we are on now, is that an option that's worth considering here?
Well, sure, it's worth considering. Before we get there, though, I want to make sure, since we're in, if you will, the base document now, I don't want to lose what we just did here. Because we don't know for sure if what she was intending was what we are assuming. So Inga, I don't know if you can go back in the editing and
undo it
and undo. Okay. So maybe what we do here is the two paragraphs that have been struck out, the implementation paragraph, the two implementation paragraphs that are there. Maybe below my comments there, put the reply is, we are assuming that Jenny is striking this paragraph in place of the one above and below. And then do the same thing, obviously, below that. Then at least we have a record, and so we can be transparent about what the hell we're trying to do here. But you guys can focus on the one above it and the one below it when you're doing your work, because that seems to be where the action could be. So with that caveat, then we can get this out on Wednesday. It'll be what it is now. That's life. Because we're not going to get it done, today. We're not going to get done by noon on Wednesday. So this is as far as we can take the document, subject to next week's seance. Is that a fair conclusion for this issue at this time?
Yeah, is it possible to reach out to Ginny and find out what she was intending?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would be great. Because my memory of these two paragraphs that are now struck out, I wrote the first paragraph that struck out, and then Vance wrote the next one, or Vance and Greg wrote the next one. And then I think the one above must be something that Ginny did. I know the one below is something that Ginny did. But yeah, if we could clarify what's going on here, that would be super helpful.
Yeah, I'll do that when we hang up.
Great. Thank you.
All right. So that's that issue. So then next up is when Inga gets back, she'll scroll down to the findings and recommendations. So I guess, the real purpose of this meeting this afternoon is, how much more can I dotting and T crossing can we do for the draft that goes out Wednesday evening sometime? And then, so this is the last item on our agenda, which was the key findings and recommendations.
Oh, wait a
And
second.
so-
This has been reformatted again, this version, because this is not draft 2.
So this is the segue. This is simply format, Mark. So I just found this out at the beginning of the call. That since the last meeting, so after the last meeting, staff and I stayed and we talked through the next steps in the ultimate production of the report. One of the steps was to get somebody who knows Word a whole hell of a lot better than me to go through the document that we reviewed on Thursday night and make all the formatting the same, so it would be consistent throughout. So Darren's administrative assistant, I'm not sure exactly what her title is. Linda is the one that's always coming with the food to the meetings. She went in this morning, Inga, is that right? And reformatted it so we have one consistent formatting. Substantively, it's exactly the same as you saw on Thursday night. And this formatting will be the version we send out Wednesday evening.
And Sam, just to double check, that version that goes out Wednesday evening, the timeline reasoning for that to go out Wednesday evening, is that for the planning commission review?
Yeah, so they have
Correct.
time to review it before
Correct.
the Tuesday meeting.
Okay,
That's also the start of the SWAC review.
Yeah, SWAC, DSAC, Planning Commission all start the same time.
Mhm. Okay.
So have either of you had even 2 minutes to rub up against each other to look at these key findings?
Well, I have looked at this, and my first reaction to this was I felt like some very important things that are I don't know if they're still here now, that were included later in the document under observations and recommendations. It was a table that had what I thought were some overarching key findings that weren't specific to individual land use decisions. And so I don't know where those are in this document that we're looking at on the screen. I can
Inga,
tell you,
scroll down. I think you'll see some of them. I guess the other way, I apologize. I don't know up from down this afternoon.
no, I think she's going the right direction. I think it's down. In the prior version, where were these things? Oh, maybe they're not even in here.
No, they're in
No,
there.
Oh, I thought they were, I think maybe they're in our full report that I copied them and pulled them over.
I'm trying to find my version just a second. This, Inga, give me a reality check. What you see on the screen now is literally what you saw on Thursday night in the 99 pager, not the 370X pager. Is that correct,
Right.
Inga?
Yes.
Yeah, it looks like it's the tabular format that Inga had organized things in. And whoever was working on this took it out of the table format that she had and apparently has it in this other format now. But
Well, I think
Well, the
Go ahead.
recommendations were not in a format, in a table format. The findings were, not the
okay, so I
recommendations.
can explain. Let me tell you, let's take them one at a time because they're different. The recommendations always look like this.
yeah,
Well, look like this in that part. Now go up to the findings. You have me to blame for this. So Inga,
Well, here, this is the last findings, cup F-9.
okay, so we'll just use that one as an example. I can't remember what subcommittee I said this to when, so I apologize if you guys weren't on the call. The work plan,
Bugger, sorry. We'll just go
just take any of
There.
them, they're fine. So the work plan includes a work group member poll and a public poll that's going to ask via Survey Monkey, do they vote 1, 2, or 3 on each finding and each recommendation. When we were futzing with this over the weekend, it became almost impossible to take the table treatment and put it into a Word document that can go into a Survey Monkey document that does it. What's missing from this at this current point, because we don't have it yet, is whether or not there's been, and I can't remember all of Ed's table of contents, not enough information yet, complied with, whatever. You remember there's like 4 or 5 Qs. We don't have that yet because you haven't gotten to that stage, because we haven't gotten Republic's version of that. And that's coming in a few days, as I understand it.
I just got an email from Holly while we were meeting. She's going to review it tonight and hopefully we'll get everything to you tomorrow. And I apologize for that. It's our bad.
It happens. Okay. And then I've also asked very candidly for Darren and Inga and Greg to sit down and look at the old table format, where in virtually every of these findings, the county has said in compliance. And so I'm trying to set up a stage where, as I said at the meeting, how can there seem to be such a difference of opinion just between the county and the subcommittee? I have no idea what Republic's going to say on these things, that we have to sit down separately and do that. So this would need to say compliance finding : pending, if it's to go out in this format on Wednesday.
What?
Does that
Say
make
that
it?
again, Sam?
yeah.
You want me to add
compliance
more to this?
finding, What?
Well, there's there's no finding here. It's just what is here is where is it where it says complied with or not?
That was in the table and you did not include that in the new format that you sent me this weekend.
Because we didn't have it done yet. And all I am suggesting, like take CUP F1A1 after the word defined area : there needs to be a finding that says conclusion or some words : and then whether or not it's complied with or not. But we don't have it yet. And so I frankly forgot to add it because we didn't have it. We just had two people's views and hadn't seen Republic's. And I really need to understand more about the county's conclusions, which are almost all in compliance. So my bad for not adding, a line after each condition that gives them the punchline, which, they need, obviously. This is just the condition.
Well,
Yeah,
it's
the
not gonna
table-
be done for this coming draft that's going out on Wednesday.
Well,
I don't know
what
that
I'm-
there's any way I can do that.
Well, I think there is a very easy way to do that, Inga, because all I'm suggesting you put there is a period, a space, and then write in, let's come up with the words, status, colon, yet to be determined.
Oh,
And
that's all it is,
those-
then yes.
That's all we're going to be able to do between now and Wednesday, because you haven't had time to meet with your whole team, and we haven't seen Republic stuff. So that's as far as we're going to be able to get here.
And might I suggest that a better term
Please.
there to be
Yeah, go
consistent
ahead.
with what was in the table? The table header was compliance assessment
Yeah, we'll put that in.
rather than status.
Yeah, that's fine. Compliance assessment, colon, yet to be determined.
So I can take this compliance
Those,
cell out of the subcommittee document, because in all of
No.
those tables, there's a compliance
no,
cell.
no. You take those 6 words and you place them at the end of each finding.
I got that. Yeah.
And then you keep it in the actual subcommittee report, because that is where our holding place. So we'll have to merge Republics into that table. And then we're going to have a meeting to see what the dissonance is between the sub Republic and county, and have discussion about attempting to get resolution.
Sam, we talked about this just a little bit on Thursday's meeting, when you asked me to clarify kind of where that disparity or that difference was between the county's assessment and our subcommittee's work group assessment. Would it be helpful, not sure if in what space or if in the document or not, there are several that this came up with that question that was asked also about how it wasn't necessarily clear about unable to determine compliance. I'm not sure that's the right word, or the right phrase that we used, but that space of, we don't really know if it's in compliance or not because we haven't seen supporting documents. Would it be helpful to identify from our work group's perspective, we are unable to determine compliance. We believe that, say it's a DEQ document or it's a county document or some sort of report. Would it be helpful to nod to those documents that might lead us to compliance, just as a matter of the record? Meaning we might not see them, but we might as a subcommittee know what those documents are that could lead us to determining whether compliance had been met or not.
Yes, I think that would be very helpful. But for purposes of what we can do now between, now and Wednesday night, I do think this section here that's on the screen, the definitions used in compliance document, probably needs to be copied and then moved into the body of this section's report, even though the findings we don't know yet. The reader will know that what we are showing them is broken down by these 7 or 8 terms.
Well, was there, someone had made a comment at the work group meeting to make this simpler?
Well,
Which I
yes,
would really appreciate and I think would be helpful for everyone, for the readers.
we are going to do that. But I'm sorry to be a curmudgeon on this, but I am only focused on getting this before we go to sleep on Wednesday night. And for me, last time that was like at 12:30 in the morning to get this thing out. So all I'm suggesting now we can do is copy definitions used in compliance assessment and put it at the appropriate place in the body of the work group report, the document we were just in, and say, here are the definitions used in compliance assessment. As you will see, they are pending further discussion. As you will see below, they're pending. And that way, at least they know what to expect when they see it, at least give some hint.
And to Inga's point as well, I think that we are already prepared. We kind of bounced that idea back and forth. So Mark hasn't heard the recording for the portion of the meeting that he was unable to attend. So he's waiting for that recording to come out. But I think that we, which is where that question came up about clarifying those compliance, whatever that page is, the document of compliance assessment, I think is what you said, Sam.
Yeah.
I think that's a place that's reasonable for us to look at and see if we can't make that a little more approachable as well. So we can, we can do that, just not by Wednesday is kind of what you're stating.
Right. If you can do it by Wednesday, that's Christmas, Hanukkah, and Kwanzaa come early. But if you can't,
Right.
then
Okay.
all we can do is copy and paste.
All right. And then just another question. So the way that the key findings and the table, the way it stands right now for our subcommittee, will the links to the 154 approximate page document that we're working with, it's a much richer, much more information on how we got to those compliance concerns and how we got to that summary. Will that be linked for the purposes of the Planning Commission and the SWAC to review?
That's what I asked the
Okay.
staff to do.
Okay.
It is to provide those links for the obvious reason.
Great.
So this is the section this cell I was talking about getting rid of, since all of the comments below are explaining the work group committees, the subcommittees opinions already. I don't think we need this cell here anymore. Not
Well,
that
we are going to in this next exercise, because right now I just picked this particular finding, CP 7401, until I see all three of your positions in one place and we have a facilitated conversation. I don't know what to put in here. There's a consensus that it has been complied with. There's a consensus that we need additional information. Or it's a 3-2 thing. So therefore there's no consensus. The people that voted 3 said in compliance. The people that voted with the majority, because they voted 1 or 2, would say it's not in compliance. We don't know that yet. So the compliance assessment yet to be determined. It may well say that in the final draft, there was a consensus that they're not in compliance, or there was a consensus they were in compliance, or there was a majority opinion of X and a minority opinion of Y. That may be what the final outcome looks like. We just haven't gotten there.
So can I weigh in here about what I was referring to earlier about overarching
Way
key
away,
findings?
way away.
So is it possible for me, can you give me permission to share my screen?
No. Ha ha.
All right, let's see here. So can you see my screen? I can't see you anymore.
We
No,
can't
I
see
think I
your
have to
screen.
make you a co-host. Hold on.
All right, hold on.
Okay, you should be able to do it.
All right, let's see here. All right, I'm gonna pull this up. You see that?
Now we can.
Yeah. So, what I was saying earlier was that, so the way the document is structured now, the key findings dive directly into CP 7401 or whatever it was, and just goes condition by condition, land use decision by land use decision. And one of the things that I think that we came away with in this process, meaning the discussions that Ed and Catherine and I were having, we put together a table, and this table is in our big report farther down somewhere, and it's under this category of observations and recommendations. But for me, I believe that there are some overarching, if you will, key findings. And I've just simply copied that table and put them up here because I think they should come before the deep dive into each individual land use decision and whether or not it's in compliance or not in compliance. So, for example, this very first one that says Benton County did not and does not actively monitor or enforce prior land use decision conditions of approval for the landfill or any other land use decisions.
Mark, let me cut you off just because you're speaking to the choir here. I
But
think
it's not in there, but it's not in there now. And so I want to try to make sure before it goes out on Wednesday that these get pulled up here.
Yeah,
'cause they
that's
are-
what I'm, that's
Okay,
what I'm
I'm
getting
sorry.
to.
All
That's
right.
what I'm getting to.
All right.
You don't have to convince me that they should be in the body of the work group report. The only question is where they go. So, Inga, can you go back up? There's
No,
recommendation.
it's me. It's me.
Oh,
I'm
it's you
controlling.
scrolling.
Yeah.
So there's two pieces there. It seems to me instinctively, and I'm just trying to move us along. I'm sorry. The observations should go on top of each of the land use findings. The recommendations column should go below at the end with the recommendations, right?
Perfectly agree. Yeah, that's fine. I just wanted to pull this forward. I copied this table because it is a table that's already exists in our larger report. And I just wanted to make sure that the observations, I think those should be at the beginning of the key findings before we dive into CP 74 and all the other individuals and the recommendations, which are these guys down here. Board of Commissioners update, establish consistent terminology. Those things will go down in the recommendations section. I agree with you, Sam.
Okay, so Inga, after the meeting, if you can just,
I don't know. Hold
go
on.
ahead.
What table? I don't know what table you're looking at, Mark. You need to give me a better idea.
So this table is, what you can do is I'll stop sharing now. If I'm capable of doing that. Come on, where the heck am I here? Stop share, okay. All right, and you can take back control, and if you go to our, or maybe I can just pull it up to the full report that we have done. Let's see here. Where are you in our document? Oh, that's there's a section called, there's another table called observations and recommendations.
This is the observations and recommendations.
No, there's a whole nother. Just keep scrolling. I can send it to you and I can work it out because it is coming out of one of our existing documents that you have.
What you showed me, I do not have. So I don't know where you got that. That's why I need to know.
All right, well, let me
Well-
pull it up then. I think I can pull it up.
This is the observations and recommendations table in our subcommittee report.
So. I
There's
mean,
nothing
there-
below it?
You sent me a document, I think last week, with some changes to it. Is that the one that you're showing now?
No, there's just so many versions of all these different things. Let me see if I can find it. Let's see here. Yeah, maybe it's this one. Hold on for a second. I'll just ease up. The document you already had up today, Inga.
The full subcommittee report.
That's
is-
correct. I think that's where it's coming from.
That's what
And-
I have up right now.
Hold on for a second. Let me just find it here. What I don't know, since I don't have all this stuff printed out, I don't know exactly where it is in this document. All right,
Yeah,
hold
I
it. I
don't
think
have
I'm
that
dialing
table.
in. All right, I got it. I found it. All right, so why don't you allow me to share again? And I will. Here it is. Okay, so here's the table. Okay, and I'm going to go up to the very top of this and show you which document it is. Yeah, so it looks like I did put these in here, but this was the table, this monitoring and compliance enforcement issues. And I'm going to go all the way to the top of this table. I got to minimize you here and move this all the way to the top. This all looks familiar now, right? So this is, I don't know what version this is. This was a.
Mark,
like
go
it.
up to the upper left-hand corner, hit file up on the very top and go down and hit info. Hit info.
Where
Keep
the heck
going
is
up.
info?
It's right after open. Well, you
Oh,
went too
okay.
fast right there. And then this is last modified by you on January 15th. The question becomes, did Inga get that in the last, what is it, week or so?
Yeah, I think this is the one I must have emailed to her that she's talking about.
Okay, if that's the case, then not everyone has had an opportunity to weigh in on the new recommendations that you have added in.
Well, is it that new table? Is the table news what I'm hearing?
I added to the table. I added to the table those things that we were just looking at a second ago, these items here. Oh, or
Okay,
am I sharing or not
So
sharing yet?
it
Sorry.
seems like there's two issues. Let me try to drive from it to get us to
Yeah,
conclusion. It seems like there are two issues. One, the changes to that table that you just showed us that you did on January 15th need to be added to the subcommittee E report that goes in the appendix. Additionally, that table needs to be broken out into two parts. The observation column goes right under the introduction and before the findings to the specific land use activities. The recommendations just get added using the same format as you have for the other recommendations that are already there. Then at least we will have a complete draft. And again, that's my primary goal for Wednesday by midnight, is that we have at least a complete draft. And then the fine tuning it and approving it and what have you, you know, we're not going to get done between now and then. We'll have to kick it over to next week.
So can I ask,
Just an
Yeah.
add that, you know, we haven't seen, Republic hasn't seen, I haven't seen Mark's revision to that table yet. So this is
Right.
the first I've heard about it. So our comments are going to be on the prior Inga version. And I reserve the right to take a look at the new mark version.
All right. And so I think that's fair to add, Inga, when you copy that stuff up, the observations and the additional recommendations, you can put in pending Republic review of those two sections. So it's clear to folks. Catherine?
Yep, I just want to ask a couple clarifying questions. So Mark, that those comments, is that out of the body of work that we have already, that 154 pages, right? Are those just summary points out of that? Or is there newer language that's landing in this space? So to Jeff's point of having the opportunity to review it, are you just moving information that we've already put together in that original draft forward or into a different location, kind of by condensing it, or is it new?
It's a mix.
Okay.
So like the first bullet that is in that table that I showed comes directly out of the introductory statement, because it was something that was added by either Greg Verrett or Inga or Vance about the fact that the county doesn't monitor they don't monitor and enforce conditions of approval. There's other statements there that may be aggregated.
So
All right,
can
yeah.
I offer
Yeah.
this? Hang on, trying to make notes.
So if we look at this, the first statement is exactly out of the introductory statement. The second statement is just making a sentence out of what's in the introductory statement, because they say that they rely on a complaint system to review compliance with conditions of approval.
Their third
Um,
statement is incorrect. We have a code enforcement. And any complaints
Well-
would need to go through code enforcement.
Okay, folks, wait a minute. We're
Yeah,
not going to
having
be
a debate
able,
about it.
we don't have time to debate about it. And the most we can do, as I said 3 minutes ago or so, is that we just need to have a complete report. This has draft written all over it. My cover memo to the Planning Commission and et al. Is going to, make that pristine in its clarity. We're plugging out things that people haven't had time to review this section. It'll be as clear as we can be. And Inga, you can make suggested edits to it, but not before Wednesday at 5.
Well,
So my goal in bringing the question to this group was that because we have now changed again, the kind of the formatting a little bit, would it be beneficial for Mark and I, if we can carve the time out before Inga adds that draft? Would it be beneficial for us to reevaluate that draft and its format as it relates to the newest version? I'm just
there's no
thinking,
time, Catherine. I'm sorry.
so if we had a cut and paste for you is what I'm trying to say, because here again, we're crossing over with versions and now we don't have a lot of different content and we're putting something forward that maybe isn't in the ideal or the most ideal format.
Well,
Are we creating more work is what I'm trying to
Okay.
say.
quite
Okay.
honestly, I was not going to add this into the document we have now because it has not been reviewed. I don't agree with some of the statements. The recommendations that are in the existing document that everyone has looked at went into the work group report. They're
Okay,
in there.
so the stuff in the right-hand column is already in it, is what you're saying. Inga?
Everything that was in the existing report that were recommendations that I could see are in the work group report.
I don't think those things on the right-hand column are in.
Again, I don't know where you got this table. Some of you're saying some of it's existing and then some of it you've added, but I don't have this table at all.
This table is in the basic report that came from the subcommittee. So this is working from the table that was
Well,
the
then
big draft.
could you please look at what this is that's existing already and see if it's in the recommendations already? Because if I removed this table, it was for a reason. If the new draft, subcommittee report does not have this table in it, it was removed for a reason because that information had been moved over.
Well, okay, so I'm just gonna have to make a directive call here because of the time constraints. Is all we can do between now and then is it comes in two flavors. The minimum we can do is copy the left-hand column called observations, move them to the body of the report above where each individual land use finding begins. Same, and they might already be there. Same with the recommendations. If they're already in there, if those three that I'm at least seeing on the screen are already in there, then that job is done. If they're not, just add them to the existing ones that are there. Then this whole table needs to go into the body of the full subcommittee CUP subcommittee report if it's not there. And it's simply a placeholder, nothing more, nothing less. Because all the other subcommittee reports, I will tell you, have things similar to this that have not been vetted by everyone yet and are not complete. Because we don't have time. And then if Catherine and Mark can get together and look at those observations, I mean, maybe Inca can set, just send those new observations and send it to Mark. And if you can get it back by tomorrow at noon, then we'll use that version of it. Is there any other practical solution that could work in the time frame we have?
I would just ask, can you give us till 2? This is short notice, and I'm a little bit uncomfortable about how we have presented this work, knowing that it's going now for review by 2 other bodies that will be looking at this work. I just don't feel that we're not bringing them to the table well in the way that how do I want to say that? We've got the information there, but let's not make it a scavenger hunt to find it, right? And I think we can lead better in that key findings statement. I don't feel comfortable that the key findings, the way that they are laid out, align necessarily with all of the work that we've done. And I had shared that with Mark on Thursday, just in a break time that we had. So given an opportunity, if we can draft something up and it can be plugged in, I mean, literally we're having the full planning commission and the full SWAT group look at this. I'd prefer that we put together a little bit better of a foot forward for this amount of work. I just don't see that they're going to go through 154 pages of that work. And I don't see that our summary is really capturing some of the things that we have either concluded or are considering in that draft. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm a little concerned. It feels like we didn't get a whole lot of time to take a look at that. So we've had since Tuesday, we haven't even had a full week since that final draft came out. We then went into our Thursday meeting, knowing that we have some questions. I would feel better. I would feel that we would serve the purpose of the work that we've done, and also to the folks, our next audience, that it's going to, if we could draft that a little bit better.
So let me just lay out, if that could happen, here's practically how it would work. And I don't know if each of these steps is reasonable, but step 1 would be for Inga to take what I just said, the observations, and move them up into the full work group report. Step 2, copy and paste the observations, the recommendations to that list. Those X number of pages would then have to go out simultaneously tonight or first thing tomorrow morning, depending on Inga's schedule tonight, to both Jeff and the 2 of you to track change, comment, and then we will not be able to reconcile those track changes. We would simply have to have tonight's then existing document with the subcommittees and republics put on top of it. And they will go out that way because there's not going to be a reconciliation time. So right, there's no other way to do it. And then you can, that means you can edit them, Catherine and Mark and Jeff.
And we can expect that we will get some of that stuff from Republic, presumably. This, it sounds like forthcoming.
Yep.
I think will be
Hopefully
helpful.
early tomorrow.
And did you guys do the draft that we used on Thursday night, Jeff? Is that the draft that Holly saw of the report?
Yeah, it's the Inga cleaned up version of the report. So I think that it's the up-to-date report, except for the additions that Mark made and sent to Inga this week.
So includes both documents, the body of the work group report, which is the like 15-page version, and the full work group report, which is the 150-page version. That's what she looked at, is looking at overnight.
No, it's the full work group report that she's looking at.
Okay, so she has not yet, and nor have you, it sounds like, looked at the section of the full work group report that is of more concern to nail than the full body. Because for the reasons Catherine just said, it's unlikely people are going to be able to look at 150 pages. The most they're going to be able to do is look at the 99 or whatever it turns out to be.
Yeah, no, we have not looked at that. And, you know, everything that's in there, just based upon looking at it on the screen, seems like it is from the comments that are in the full work group report, which we will comment on.
Yeah.
So I think we will have addressed them in that context. But we won't have addressed them in the, you know, in the sort of list of findings document that you put in the full work group report. So I'm sorry, I have not.
That's life. I mean, we're all under the gun here. There's no doubt about it. And just trying to do the best again. So Inga, when could you make those changes, which are taking the observations and adding the recommendations there and in the body of the full work report, the 147-page version? When can you get just the body of the work group report out to everyone on this call to look at?
So you're asking me to take the new information that Mark put forward and add it into the findings section, and the recommendation section is probably just the
Correct.
recommendation section, because that's what they are.
Right. And then that same work and put it in the body of the subcommittee's report. So at least we have a full, and then when we get Republic stuff, we will edit the body of the subcommittee's report with his edits to it. And that's going to be the state of the document as of Wednesday at noon. So the only thing you can do tonight is the first part, and that's really the observations and recommendations.
And Mark, Catherine, and Ed, you'll be making track changes to the findings and the recommendations in the work group report. Is that correct?
We will. I don't know. Ed's not back yet for another week, so he won't be weighing in. But yes, we can take a look at it. And Jeff, I just sent to you. So I sent that those suggested changes with comments to Inga back on the 15th, whatever day that was, a week ago. And I copied Sam and I copied the Benton County Talks Trash work group, but I forgot to copy you. It wasn't purposeful, but you have it now. And Sam, it would have been in your inbox back on the 15th because I copied you.
Well, I'm
as
sure
well.
I'm sure I got it.
Yeah, but we've all been getting a bazillion emails and stuff. So I'm just saying. So you have it there, Jeff.
Thank you.
Yeah, in a Word document.
So because I have got to go to Subcommittee E here in 6 minutes, the threshold question is, Inga, can you get just that part? Not the full report, just the section of, not the full subcommittee report, the section of the full work group report that involves the key findings, recommendations, and observations done. When can you have that done?
I'm going to say by 8 tonight. I'm gonna go home and do it. So I'll have
Right.
dinner and then work on it.
Thank you. And
And-
then I think we need a turnaround date. And Catherine, you proposed 2 o'clock tomorrow. And again, we're just going to focus in on the front end, those 15, 20 pages to clean up the findings and findings piece.
Well, and that supposes that Mark has actually time tomorrow to meet. I have some time that maybe we can coordinate, meaning it would be dependent on that, because outside of that, I can't turn this around tonight. It would have to be tomorrow during
Yeah,
the
I
day.
understand.
Okay. So is that an option for you, Mark, sometime before, before 2 o'clock?
Well, I'm headed to the coast to go crabbing.
that's right.
so,
That's right.
So I will be, I can look at my phone, but I won't be back here until 5, I'm sure tomorrow.
Okay.
You know, I'll take my phone along and see what I can do.
So
Well-
we'll keep that deadline, and if we can make any changes, we'll do that, but know that there will probably be others forthcoming after the fact. But I'd also like to just ask 2 things. So number 1, I see the invite for subcommittee meeting 9. It will actually be subcommittee meeting 10. Is it possible to resend that, Inga, just for the sake of knowing which one to
Sanity.
look for? Just a correction to that if possible. And then my other request is that I would like to see the newly formatted version so that I know what I'm looking at as it relates to what we might be considering for any amendments proposed by 2 p.m. tomorrow. It's just for simplicity's sake. There are a lot of versions out there.
That's what you will receive. You're only going to receive the section of the reformatted work group report that is what we start off looking at the screen, with the addition of the Mark information for observations and recommendations. So that will be the document. And then actually, I think, to be fair, if you can send that to all of us, Catherine, when you get done. And then Jeff, if you can, know that that's coming around too, and you would have, to 8 a.m. the next morning, Wednesday morning, to make any track changes on what appears to be Catherine's track changes, given Mark's crabbing. Then that's where we're going to plug and play in with all the caveats in the world.
I'll give it the old college try, but of course we have another subcommittee meeting tomorrow afternoon. Plus I have a city council meeting I have to go to on Tuesday night.
And
I
that right
understand.
there.
All
Well,
right.
Jeff
Inga?
and Catherine can make simultaneous track changes, and I'll just have to
Merge them.
merge them. Yeah.
We'll do what we can, I think, is where this is going to land, right? This is,
Yep.
it's going to move some things aside. So if there's nothing that we can pull together by then, there just won't be any, but we'll communicate one way or the other.
Well, and if Inga sends out something this evening, you said hopefully by about 8, I can look at that before. I can look at that tonight, and I can get my track change suggestions to Jeff and Catherine. You guys can start with those.
All righty.
Okay.
Go forth, do good, avoid evil. Thank you all.
Thanks,
Ciao.
everybody.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.